Welcome, everybody. I have with me a very, very special guest. I have with me Mr. Peter Bond, who, if you are not aware of who he is, you're going to find out no matter what at this point, because you're going to finish watching this video. Peter is a wonderful trumpet player who is now living in the New Mexico area, specifically on the east side of the mountains here of Albuquerque. Welcome, Peter. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So a couple of let's get started on this because you have such a history. You are from Rockford, Illinois,
Right.
and you graduated. Well, you went to Western Illinois University where you studied music education. So
Right.
I also understand that you majored in press and blow and beer. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah. If I'm going to be, completely honest and
Oh,
forthright.
absolutely, please. So you studied music education. Were you also a trumpet performance major or just strictly music
No,
ed?
no. No, I grew up in drum and bugle corps, and
Okay.
and that's pretty much what I did as a kid. And I was a very poor musician. I didn't read music very well, and in fact, I got thrown out of my high school band. Um,
That's going to
which
be
is
another
another
story
story.
for another
But
day.
anyway, but my senior year, we got a very charismatic band director. They hired a very charismatic band director, and I joined again. And he started a jazz band and kind of introduced us to this, and I began getting into big band jazz and stuff like that, and really, really into that. And also at the same time, the drum and bugle corps movement was starting to have some visibility. College bands were adopting a course style marching, and it got to the level where it was being broadcast on television. And so and I was a soloist with the group I was with. So that exposure got me recruited to this school, where I was unanimously rejected by the audition committee. But the band director needed horsepower for his big band and his marching band. So he got me in, and then I played catch up, desperately for 4 years. So
Okay.
oddly,
Which
that
drum and bugle corps did you play in?
was my hometown drum and bugle corps. It was the Phantom Regiment
Oh, really?
of
Very
Rockford,
nice.
Illinois. Yeah.
Okay, actually recognize that name. Thank you. So
Okay.
you did. So how many years did you play in drum and bugle corps? Did you do two, three, 4 years?
Oh no, 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
were heavily involved with drum and bugle corps.
Well, it was a social thing. It was all my friends. It was in those days, your local drum and bugle corps was all the kids from your neighborhood. So it was a
Right.
very strong social thing. You didn't run off and march with another drum corps, or you'd be cast out, or what do they say? I forget. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So for musical reasons, I probably should have left a lot earlier, but it was all my friends, and
Right. And
we
it
had a
was
great
fun. It
time.
was kind of like being part of a football team or being part of anything else. It's when I was going to high school, it was social. Marching band was a social thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's what, I try to tell some of my students that I don't want to march, but it's fun. Enjoy it. Enjoy your friends. It's a lot
Or
of
you could
work.
say misery loves company.
There
You
you
put it
go.
that way.
Misery loves company. I'll have to remember that for next time. So from there, you went to Georgia State University where you studied trumpet performance, I assume, working on your master's degree. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, this band director that I mentioned, very charismatic, and he inspired me. And I went to college with every intention of becoming a high school band director, and and then I just became fascinated with playing and say, how good can I get? Can I, blah blah, blah, can I do this? And so after I graduated, I actually went on the road with a circus, a small motor show. So with the band with the roustabouts, I set up the lighting, and another guy did the concessions, and so that was about 9 months. But I was a very messed up player. I when I said press and blow, I had this overlapping embouchure, and I would press, and by that time, um, I actually had to quit for a while because of dental pain.
Oh, okay.
So in my bugle corps years, I had a cut inside my lip that would open up through the course of the summer. And by August, I could barely play. And
Yeah.
then it would close up during the year, and then I do it again the next year. And so I was in need of some serious re-engineering. And My college band director got this. I had quit playing. You know, I was working in a factory in my hometown. That's Rockford was a factory, tool and die
Hmm.
town. Um, and so my college band director got this new gig at Georgia State University in Atlanta. And he called me up and he said, I need some couple of graduate assistants to help me start a jazz program, and you can study with symphony men, you know. So I thought, let's see, 10 hours a day in a factory, or
Yeah.
yeah. So to Atlanta I went. The Yankee went down to Atlanta, and I happened to, and they had 6 trumpet teachers at the school listed,
Okay.
and I didn't know any of them. But I
Okay.
said, well, this dude is the principal in the symphony. He must be good. Then it was John Head,
Oh,
who
okay.
was an excellent teacher, of course, but he was also the most powerful contractor in town.
Ah, he was
So
someone that for
I looked
networking
like some kind
purposes.
of Machiavelli because instantly I was getting work, and I'm sure a lot of people resented it. But yeah, it was just a incredible stroke of luck that he was both a gifted teacher and a contractor, and so all of a sudden I had a, a jump start on a freelance career, which lasted about 7 years until I came out here the first time.
Okay, so when you say you had to rework all of this,
Yeah.
so you really had to do a complete embouchure change, didn't you?
Yeah, although embouchure change is not as fearsome as a lot of people think. You know, it's kind of like changing your grip on the baseball bat or the golf club or something. So I did. I blew down.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
you couldn't tell. I played straight out, like on the back of my Rafael Mendez records. The trumpet's got to go straight out. But and so I would smash the chops shut, and I'd fight it with wind power, and you've got that eternal struggle going on,
Hmm.
and pretty soon something gives.
Right.
And
And in
so,
this case, it was your lip.
what is my lip and my teeth?
Okay.
Yeah. So, and of course, I was subject to all the migraines and the blackouts and all that stuff that trumpet players talk about, and it was all self-generated. It was from
Okay.
my poor technique. I could sort of play high, which was my ticket. That's the only thing I could do, but you know, so we just brought my jaw forward a little bit, got the chops evened out. It's actually on the face of it's quite easy, and all of a sudden,
Everything
all
opens
kinds
up.
of new things was like, oh. So it can be different. I just assumed that because I could play a high, a double G, that I was doing it right. Because other
Right.
guys couldn't do it. So I was the man. And of course, I was so full of baloney. I didn't know.
So in 1992, you auditioned and you won the which chair for the Metropolitan Opera? Which chair
The,
did you, what did you audition for and what did you win?
the position was second/utility.
Okay.
So the Met has a very heavy workload. So they have 2 principals who, never play together. It's altering nights or they trade shows. And then there are 2 guys who are labeled second utility, and 1 guy is third.
Okay.
And in reality, those 3 players that I mentioned, um, actually just we kind of rotate because a lot of operas just have 2 trumpets, right?
Right.
Some of them have 10. Um,
Yeah.
so we would rotate, and then the guy who plays third um, got first, refusal on parts that had a really hot third trumpet part, like Britain, or if we did 2 and 2 operas, 2 cornets, 2 trumpets, he would play first trumpet.
Okay.
And then
All right.
after my buddy Pandolfi, who played third, after he retired, he went out on medical disability. I slid over to his chair, and I was third then.
Okay. So
Yeah,
when you were playing up there, you lived in no, you worked in New York because that's where the Met is, right? That's
yeah.
in New York.
I lived in Jersey, just across the bridge, and I went back and forth between a couple of residences. We couldn't decide what lifestyle we wanted, but yeah, basically New York. Yeah.
Okay, so what was a normal work week like for the Met when you were working for them and they had an opera coming up? What would be a normal work week for you? Do you remember?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Uh, they would do like 25 or 30 productions a year, and
Wow.
there were 5 operas up at all times. So because opera singers can't sing these big shows back to back, they have to have a couple of days off. So one night might be Don Giovanni, then it's La Boheme, then it's Electra, and then it's Elisir d'Amore, and then it'll go again. And then
Okay.
during the day, we're rehearsing what goes into the cycle next.
Oh my God. So you were rehearsing during the day and then doing a
Correct.
performance at
Correct.
night.
Right. Now, and they do 7 shows a week. But now our contract, there was a big labor action. It used to be a terrible grind. They used to have to play 7 shows a week. And now there was a big labor action in 1980. And when I joined the orchestra, it was actually pretty civilized. You only were required to play 4 shows a week.
Okay.
And if you played more than that, you got paid a premium. You got paid for an extra show. Also, rehearsals paid over and above. The contract was only for the operas.
Oh, okay. So
Right.
you got
So
paid for rehearsals, you got paid for doing the things, and then I'm sure, and I've heard stories. I'm not familiar with it, but I've heard stories that if you play more than one instrument, you get bonuses, et cetera, et cetera. Was that
there's
true for you
doubling,
guys?
sure. Doubling for cornet, piccolo trumpet, pretty rare. But yeah, there's doubling. Um,
Okay.
but there was a lot of cornet. Also, we got doubling we used rotary trumpets on Beethoven and Mozart and things like that. And also, when we worked as a symphony orchestra, we would do symphonic repertoire at Carnegie Hall. We did 4 or 5 concerts a year on Sundays, and that was kind of Jimmy Levine's private, project. But it was
Okay.
nice to get, to get back into the symphonic repertory, after
So
that.
you worked a lot. I mean, that must have taken a ton of your time. I mean, literally, if your work week was truly rehearsals during the day and gigs at night.
Well, it depends on if I was assigned a show. So if they're rehearsing Don Giovanni, it only has 2 trumpets, and if I'm not assigned to that show, I have the week off
Ah,
during the
okay.
days,
During the
right?
days,
So,
you were still
so
playing whatever show was doing that night.
right. So
Okay.
it could be feast or famine.
Okay.
You could have a double. You could have a 12 service week. You could have a 4 service week. So the job had a strange rhythm to it,
Okay.
unusual. And operas are also very long.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
and that's, I mean, I'm learning that with just musicals. I could imagine at opera, I've been to a few operas up at Santa Fe, and
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking 3 hours, sometimes longer.
3 hours is normal.
Right.
They go
Yeah.
4, 5, and 6 hours.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean some of them.
Yeah, you must have one heck of a set of chops to be able to play all. I mean, even if you're rehearsing in the day, just to play the night gig, that must probably be a lot of work.
There's not much playing in opera,
Oh, okay.
so what I have is calluses on my butt. You know, so
Yeah,
so
I don't want calluses here.
yeah, so it's a different now. Fiddle players, all the string players, they are working and they are dealing with repetitive. They're dealing with injuries and tendonitis. It's a very very tough job for
Okay.
them. And the horn players also play fairly constantly, but trumpets and trombones, pretty rare. And so the challenge of the job is actually, or one of the bigger challenges is playing really touchy things after a tacit of 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour.
Ah, so
It
yeah,
could be like that.
you have to be
It has a,
on.
yeah, it's got a weird, you don't get to warm up or anything, and you got to go
Okay.
boop, or something equally silly. On the page, it looks like nothing, but when the orchestra drops out and it's just a trumpet, you're going,
Well, that's what you're getting paid for, right?
yes. And then there's also stage work. There was a lot of extra. They like to have the trumpets on stage in costumes in the 19th century. I guess they thought that added some kind of realism or something. So there's a lot of that kind of work. So
Okay.
if you're either in the pit, in the dark, completely anonymous, or you're on stage under the lights dressed like an idiot. You know. So it's
So
kind of
you wouldn't
crazy.
have done it this long if you didn't enjoy it.
Well, I have to say the money was a big enticement. It was a good paying job, you know.
Yeah, but so there had to be times when you certainly enjoyed it, and I'm sure there was ups and downs,
Of
you
course, like
know,
any job, sure.
just like,
It's
yeah,
a
just like
factory.
any job.
It's a
I,
music factory.
okay, I hadn't thought
They're
of it
just
that way.
they're churning it out. Boom, 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 boom every night, and So, and a lot of times, you're playing bel canto opera is not very fun for the trumpets, right? It's just
Okay.
like it's just and they're long, So sometimes it's a drag. Other times it's a gas. So
What would have been your favorite opera to play? Do you
oh,
have
I
one?
suppose I have a couple. Verdi's Otello, a lot of fun. Late Verdi, um, I enjoyed Rake's Progress, Stravinsky. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I bet that would have been interesting because I
You
like
know,
Stravinsky's work, very
yeah,
unique in the way he presents things.
right.
So, and I didn't, which opera is that? Which one?
The Rake's Progress,
Okay.
and
I'm not familiar with it.
he said it's the hardest thing he ever did.
Really?
He found, yeah,
Okay.
it was in his kind of neoclassical style, and the libretto was by W.H. Auden, and it's
Okay.
just a brilliant, brilliant piece.
I will have to
But
look that up to see if I can find that. I'm not familiar with that one. I'm familiar with some of Stravinsky's work, but I'm not familiar with his
yeah,
opera.
yeah,
I'm
well,
just
yeah, right, and he's got these several different periods, so it's almost like you're listening to three different composers. You know,
interesting.
you go, this
Okay.
isn't the same guy that wrote the Firebird. Yes, it is.
Right.
You know,
Okay. Interesting. I will have to look that up. So let's see. Let's move on to a couple of other questions. The
okay,
first time you made Albuquerque your home was in 1987
right.
when you were the principal trumpet player for the NMSO, which, if people don't remember, that's the New Mexico Symphony Orchestra. And you were here for 5 years.
Hmm.
So now you're back. Did you miss us?
Absolutely.
So,
Wait,
so
it was
you're
always in the
retired.
back of our head as far as like retirement. We really enjoyed New Mexico, and we always used to joke. There was a bunch of us young players at that time in those years. We go, oh, you know, we'll all, when we retire, we'll all come back here and have some kind of like expatriate community or old timers community, and it's sort of happening. You know,
Nice.
so
So you were um you left before the NMSO folded, right?
it was pretty. It was on really, really shaky ground
Okay.
when I left. I
Okay.
think I was at a meeting and they said, "We have no money." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll take that opera audition." We weren't getting paid. It's regional orchestra stuff. It's always
Right.
like runs on a shoestring and it's a precarious existence for everyone.
Okay. So now that you're back here and you retired from the Metropolitan Opera, the I saw a picture of you the other day on your Facebook page. You actually were playing with the New Mexico Philharmonic. So you're back now and you're retired. So what's the plan? Are you planning on
Plan?
chilling?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I enjoy playing. I really enjoy teaching. I published a method book a couple years ago.
We're going to
It's
talk
getting
about that in a minute.
Well, it's getting a lot of good, reception, and so and teaching and learning fascinate me, and so I
Okay.
enjoy teaching. And I'm not called, uh, I just got called by some of these groups, that apparently it's a really busy time. Oh, can you come play with, whether it's the Opera Southwest or the Santa Fe Symphony or the Philharmonic. Actually, the Philharmonic I wasn't going to be playing with, and I made the mistake of saying that I'd never ever played any John Williams ever. And John
You
Marciano said, "Oh, we can fix that."
okay, so you're teaching and you like teaching.
I do.
And so let's talk about your book because I am familiar with it. I let's it just to be specific, it's called The Singing Trumpet, using singing and speech as literal models for trumpet performance. And this is your own pedagogy based on literal singing and speech. Did I get all that
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
So
was
talk about that. How did that come about?
well. I went through. I learned how to play on a as I said, I was a pretty messed up player.
Hmm.
But after I graduated, I began taking lessons with the Chicago Symphony Men on an outpatient basis. I'd go to Chicago and study with Jacobs and Chikowitz and Herseth and Dale Clevenger even, and the wind and song thing is prevalent in all the universities, right?
Yes.
And and for a while that worked okay for me, but but I was taking these auditions and I was getting like runner up. I was always in the finals, but it never really, something was wrong. And I went through a protracted, when Johnny Ware retired from the New York Philharmonic, I went through a protracted audition with them. I think I flew out there 5 times. You know, I was like always one of two guys left standing. You know, I even played a couple of weeks with the orchestra. Um, but there was like a hole in my training. Something in the way that I was approaching the instrument wasn't right. And finally, they cut me loose. Okay, fine. And then a year later, I get lucky and I win the Met job, but
Hmm.
I didn't get tenure. They were gonna get rid of me, and
Okay.
it was like, and of course I was like, it was like a nightmare. It was like a rerun or of the Philharmonic thing, and I knew there was something wrong,
Right.
and both nobody there played like I did. Just, of course, Mel Broyles didn't play like anybody on the planet, but the other guys, Gould and Pandolfi, Gould was principal, Pandolfi was playing third, and so I didn't get my tenure, which is very unusual at the Met,
Hmm.
very
Okay.
rare. And so um, instead of running to Chicago, I turned to my colleague Pandolfi, and I said, "Can you give me any? Can you give me some help here?" And he said, "Well, I wasn't going to say anything, but since you ask," and we went over to his apartment, and we like fixed it in 20 minutes.
Really
Yeah, but it's very anti-wind and song. It's very
interesting.
different. And then and of course, we talked pedagogy for years after that and worked together. And so sometimes I can't tell where his ideas leave off and mine start. But basically, I superimposed literal speech and singing uh, on top of that.
Okay.
So, for instance, you know what a zits probe is?
Yes, I know what a zits probe
Yeah,
is.
maybe other people don't know. It's just an orchestra rehearsal with the principal cast in the back, and you work out phrasing and blah blah
Right.
blah, artistic matters. But anyway, so the singers are standing right behind us, and most of these opera singers, they can bury 100-piece orchestra with just their voice acoustically. It's unbelievable.
Right. No
And
microphones, nothing. They just
yeah,
can
no,
sing.
no. I'm just looking at them and I'm going, and I don't see the histrionic breathing
Right.
that I was taught. I didn't see him turning red in the face, and I'm thinking, I'm holding a trumpet, feeling like an idiot, right? Can I do what they do,
Okay.
right? And it does work. So it's not, because so anyway, and I can blather on about this for hours and hours, but basically, so instead of going, I go da, but I want to move the engine from here to there.
Right.
And then the trumpet, instead of becoming an instrument that I blow through, actually becomes a extension of my body. And so,
Okay.
and it's worked very well. And then I have some a theory about commercial music versus symphonic music and parallel between trained singers, opera singers, leader singers, and Broadway jazz pop singers. It's about, and I've talked to opera singers about this, and they say it's just resonance.
Right.
Opera singer uses this much, the commercial singer, jazz singer uses that much, right? And they're
Right.
almost always on microphone
Right.
also, right? And
Yes.
I think there's a parallel between symphony players or legit players and commercial guys, right? And our models are kind of the trained singers, the trained voices that maximize the resonance. But then, you know, uh, if you've ever, uh, if you've ever heard an opera singer try, sing a pop tune, it's like, don't do that.
Yeah. It's
It ain't
because
right.
but when they're singing, they've got this, they were using the whole resonance
But it's
of
so
their,
wrong. It's so
yeah, it
wrong
just
and
sounds
idiot.
wrong, but they're
It sounds
using it the way they're
pompous.
doing
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Now, and almost nobody from the pop world or the jazz world tries to sing opera. That's just too insane, right? But
Okay.
trumpet players have to, especially students, they have to go bing, 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 back and forth all the time.
Right.
And that, of course, is a freelancer's lifeblood, right? And
Right.
so, and if you've been on a big band job and Joe Symphony comes to sit down on third trumpet, you can't hear him, right? His sound just goes,
Yeah.
it's like doesn't work.
Yeah. It's
And
not that laser sound anymore.
exactly. And but Yeah, I mean, and apart from equipment differences and leaving style out of it, if you're swinging now, that kind of thing. Um, uh, if you can use these vocal models to play, so if you listen to Lewis or Diz scat sing, that's exactly how they play the trumpet.
Right.
So it's "ee-ba-ba-doop, dee-da-doo-dee," not "ah ba ba ba," and you can use
That's
those.
true. It's very
Very
true.
true. And you can use students or freelancers can use those models to switch between idioms, right? So you can play your big band job on Saturday night and your B minor mass or whatever, your Sunday morning church service, and sound, almost like a different guy, which I think
Right.
we want to be. We're like actors, right?
Right.
You don't want everything to sound the same.
No, 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 no. We are chameleons. We adapt
Exactly.
to our situation,
Right.
and what I'm playing one day is completely different the next day. And to
Exactly.
be a trumpet player in today's society, you have to be able to play everything, especially if you want to make money at it. I am I'm just your average, amateur who wants to play, but I still have to be adaptable, you
Right. And
know.
you want to sound correct for the idiom you're playing in.
Yes.
Right.
So
If
this
you have any sensitivity at all, yeah.
So I will put a link down below that has a link to your book, because I desperately want everyone to see. There it is. I want
It
everybody
just happened to be
desperately to
sitting
do
here.
that, to look that up, because, and that's is why I like your book. I think it's a great book, and I'm just now getting started into it, but your concepts are amazing, and I think it's worth listening to, and it's worth understanding. And that's why I wanted to make sure I brought that up. So
Okay.
you
Yeah.
are a Bach artist, is that correct?
Right.
So which Bach models do you play? And I'm sure you have, because I remember your YouTube videos from your brass bunker, and you had trumpets lined up everywhere.
Well, they're
What,
just on hooks, so I wouldn't trip over them.
right, I know that. What primarily, what Bach do you play on? Do you have a primary B flat or a
I,
primary C?
I play older Bachs. So I have two Mount Vernons that I play, a 1962.
Somewhere. There it is.
This is the 64, but
Okay.
it's a 37 bell.
Okay.
It's, and then I also sometimes play. I have a 1931 uh, B flat that I found. It's one of those like a garage sale find I found on
Mm-hmm.
Craigslist in
Okay.
out east, and I went and bought this thing, and it's a gas to play. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, okay. What
Yeah.
about C trumpets? What about a C trumpet? Which one do you play on?
Garden variety 229H.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
no modifications, no particular lead pipes or any. Okay. I was just
No,
curious. You
no
have,
factory stuff.
I'm assuming you have an E flat and a piccolo. Are they also Bachs?
No, actually, they're Shilkies.
Oh, okay. So what about mouthpieces? What do you play for a mouthpiece primarily? We don't have to go into each one, but do you have a particular mouthpiece or a brand that you play
I
on?
play I play a 1.5 C artisan mouthpiece.
Okay. Bach then,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about your teaching, because now
Okay.
that you're here, you are playing, and on your Facebook page it says you are the adjunct professor of trumpet at the Ascena Crawl Space.
Right. Ascene is my street address, and I used to work in the basement of my old house. That's where the studio was. Every trumpet player practices in the basement next to the washing machine and the furnace and the water heater. So um, here I've adopted a bedroom, but there is a large crawl space, which one day I hope will be a studio.
Last question here for you. What do you have besides teaching and besides working with students, which you said you love to do? What else do you have up and coming? Do you have anything that you'd like to tell everybody about that you have upcoming? Anything unique? Anything you'd like to share?
No, not really. I mean, I'm working on a couple of really long-term projects. I'm doing a project researching every piece in Arbon's Art of Phrasing,
Okay.
and some of that stuff is really obscure, like
Okay.
English dance hall tunes, or parlor ballads. There's some really, funky stuff. Yeah, I did it because most of those are bel canto opera, excerpts.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those songs are from from these English operas, these dance hall things, and very maudlin ballads and stuff. So I'm kind of researching some tunes I can't even find.
Okay.
I've talked to my contacts in Europe. It says German song. I contact everybody I know in Germany. They go, I think Arvin made that up. We've never heard of it.
So we're talking, when you're saying the art of phrasing, we're talking the back half of the Arvin book, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I
Right.
just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. Right. So that's a long-term project that I'm picking away at. And I still teach at my summer festival in Sewanee, Tennessee, at University of the South.
Okay.
But apart from that, it's cycling and eating this crazy New Mexican cuisine.
Yeah. Which we all, you know what? I love New Mexico. Most people say, oh, it's Mexican. No, 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 no. This is
Oh, no,
New
no, no.
Mexican cuisine. There is a big difference. And if you don't
Absolutely.
believe me, come out here and I will take you around town
That's
and
right.
show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's wrap this up. I want to thank Peter Bond for joining me today. I want to thank you for everything and all your energy and all the wonderful things that you have done and the things that you're going to do for New Mexico and for all of us trumpet players. I say thank you.